Hi, Erik Linask here at Interop in Las Vegas, and I'm talking now with John Monson from Mellanox Technologies. John, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
One of the things you were telling me is Mellanox is among the finalists for Best of Interop. What product was that for?
Well, so we announced earlier this week a product called Bridgex, and what that does is it bridges, or it allows applications to run Ethernet on an application base, but use a 40 gigabit per second InfiniBand infrastructure, and then talk to their Ethernet LAN system, or it'll even converge to fiber channel over InfiniBand. So if you think about it, it allows companies to run Ethernet applications, but do it over 40 gigabit per second infrastructure today at a very low cost point.
That's going to be the next question. So what's the cost point to get into something like that?
So if you look at it from an economic standpoint, the economics are probably equivalent today to 10 gigabit Ethernet. And what you'll use is a combination of HCAs or adapters that talk to the servers. You combine that with a switch, 40 gigabit InfiniBand switch, and then you use the Bridgex product to actually transfer data from 10 gigabit Ethernet system and then pass it back out to the 10 gigabit Ethernet traffic that you want to feed into your LAN. So from a performance standpoint, the application sees 40 gigabits per second. You get all the benefits of very low latency, high application, but the network actually sees 10 gigabit Ethernet, and the application looks the same.
So from a deployment perspective, how easy is it to deploy?
So we have some very large customers deploying capability. It's very simple to run to plug that into your existing Ethernet system. It runs 10 gigabit Ethernet, and you can plug that into your LAN, connect this up via your application base, and you have 40 gigabit per second running today.
Good. So what else is going on at Mellanox?
So we also announced, as part of the show, high performance technology over Ethernet. It's called RDMA over Converged Ethernet, or RoCE. It was just passed as a standard not too long ago, within the last couple of weeks. And we announced products for that our adapters perform RDMA over Ethernet and can improve application performance by as much as 200%. So we have applications from IBM. We have some other applications in our booth with New York Stock Exchange and Cisco that we made announcements with earlier this week that actually show up to 200% performance improvement using this technology. We also showed, as part of that, 40 gigabit Ethernet technology as well. And we've also announced a way to make converge between a 40 gigabit per second ecosystem and a 10 gigabit per second ecosystem.
How's that work?
So I brought some props, so I'll show you. So what I have here is a 40 gigabit per second Ethernet card. Could be 40 gigabit per second InfiniBand. We do both, which is unique to Mellanox. And what I have is, we announced what we call a quad to serial adapter. So one of the dilemmas you have when you do 40 gigabit is that 10 gigabit runs on SFP plus, and 40 gigabit per second runs a QSFP. So if you want to be able to adapt between those networks easily, you want to take your adapter, you plug in a QSFP. This is the quad to serial adapter, and now my 40 gigabit per second attaches seamlessly to a 10 gigabit network. Imagine this going to a switch, and this going to the server,
right.
And now you've got 40 gigabit, and it's call it backwards compatible.
So what about when people start moving to 100 gigabit?
So if you look at 100 gigabit, there's discussion now about technologies that would be 4x25. And at 4x25, it uses the same kind of QSFP infrastructure. Likely some of the mechanicals will change, but it'll be very similar. And we may have an adapter that does something very similar for that as well. But today, we're moving to 40 gig,
right.
And this provides you 40 gig to 10 gig backwards compatibility.
What are you seeing in terms of real-world adoption of 40 gig?
So it's still very early. We announced a 40 gigabit adapter at IDF last year. And we've been rolling that out. And the next piece is, when does the 40 gigabit Ethernet ecosystem really show up? And there's two major silicon switch vendors that have announced 40 gigabit Ethernet silicon, and we expect that systems relative to that will be rolling out towards the second half of this year.
Excellent. We're talking here at Interop with John Monson from Mellanox Technologies. John, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.